Good afternoon. My name is Reverend Leanne Walt, and I serve as pastor here at the United Church of Christ in Norwell. And on behalf of our congregation, on behalf of all of our musicians, I welcome you to this time of music and reflection as we honor the service and sacrifice of our veterans. We extend a special welcome to all veterans who are present with us this afternoon, as well as their families. May you find a welcome place here today. May you feel our gratitude. We also recognize and give thanks for the support of our local representatives and public servants in our Veterans Day concert this afternoon, and more broadly, their support that they have demonstrated for our veterans, namely State Senator Patrick O'Connor, State Representative Patrick Kearney, and State Representative and veteran David DeCoste. Out of respect for our musicians, we do ask that you take a moment now to silence all of your cell phones. If you don't know how to do this, kindly ask your neighbor, and I'm sure they can help you. And we also ask that you hold your applause until the end of the concert so that we can move through the music together as in a continuous flow. So let us now, as we're preparing ourselves to enter into this time, be together in prayer. Would you join me in prayer? Dear God, we gather today with grateful hearts, lifting up our voices in honor of those who have served and sacrificed for our freedom. On this Veterans Day, we pause to remember and pay tribute to the brave men and women who, through their service, have ensured that we may live in peace and liberty. We ask for your blessing upon our veterans and their families, those here with us today and those who have passed. May they feel the depth of our gratitude and know that their service is never forgotten. Grant them peace in their hearts, comfort in their spirits, and healing where there is pain. We also ask for your presence, Lord, with us here this afternoon. As we come together in music and celebration, may our hearts be filled with unity, respect, and love for one another. Let the melodies we hear today remind us of our strength as a nation and the sacrifices that have made it strong. We thank you for the opportunity to gather as a community in honor of those who have given so much. May this concert be a moment of reflection, appreciation, and inspiration for us all. In your holy name we pray. Amen. At the 11th hour, on the 11th day of the 11th month, on this day, 106 years ago, an armistice, a cessation of hostilities between the Allied nations and Germany, went into effect, marking the end of what had been regarded as the war to end all wars. In November 1919, President Wilson proclaimed November 11th as the first commemoration of Armistice Day with the following words: "To us in America, the reflections of Armistice Day will be filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in the country's service and with gratitude for the victory, both because of the thing from which it has freed us and because of the opportunity it has given America to show her sympathy with peace and justice in the Council of the Nations." Renamed after the Second World War and the war in Korea, Veterans Day continues to be observed on November 11th as a celebration to honor America's veterans for their patriotism, love for country, and willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. Today, out of a nation of approximately 329 million people, 1.3 million Americans are in active duty in the military. Over 800,000 serve in the reserves, and there are over 19 million living veterans in our country, some of whom are here this afternoon, And to you we say, welcome home.
I am Chief Warrant Officer Eduardo Rosado, and I'm a naval engineer for the United States Coast Guard.
My name is Brett Miller. I'm a combat medic and a sergeant in the United States Army.
My name is Dominic Marcelino. I'm a United States Marine Corps Vietnam veteran. I'm also a triple amputee.
I'm Eloise Clausen, and I was a captain in the Air Force.
I'm Virgie Zajac. I was first lieutenant in the Air Force as a flight nurse.
I'm John Kelso. I served in the Navy in the period of 1953 to 55. I was on board a destroyer named the USS Leary, and I held the rank of lieutenant junior grade. I was in charge of the Combat Information Center.
Adam LaRue, Lieutenant Commander, U.S. Navy.
We begin our program with a tribute to the armed services, and I invite our veterans, along with members of their families, to stand when the theme for your branch of the service is sung. Army!
I came to be in the service because the Korean War was on and I enlisted in the Naval Reserves. I was fortunate enough to get into an officer training program connected with my service in the reserves.
So it was 1969. I had just graduated high school. I had a job as an apprentice electrician. And then the draft came about. I was going to be drafted. So I decided to join the Marines because they offered me a 2-year enlistment rather than 3 years in the Army or 4 years in the Navy or Air Force. So that was appealing to me. I wanted to get in and do my service and get out and go on with my life.
I joined out of Puerto Rico. My first language was Spanish. I asked my recruiter if that was going to be a problem, if I needed to attend a school, which he replied, no, you don't worry about it, you're going to be fine. And I found out as soon as I got off the bus in boot camp that I actually needed the school. So boot camp ended up being my English school. Not recommended for anyone to learn English in boot camp, but I survived, and yeah, a lot of great people approached me. I always remember this big white guy from Arizona, out of nowhere, he came over and spoke Spanish to me, told me to calm down, I got your back, and he helped me to push through. And you know, I always had, I like to say, angels that, you know, approached me and helped me through my way, and I survived, and here I am. So, well, yeah, pretty challenging to learn English in boot camp.
I come from a long line of servicemen. My grandfather was in the PT boats with John F. Kennedy. They were very good friends and spent a lot of time together as adults after getting out of the Navy. My father was in the 1st Marine Division that took Guadalcanal and Saipan, raising the flag. He was there when that happened. And my brother was in the 10th Mountain Division. So I was the 4th in line. And when I was in high school, I was interested in you know, serving my country and being part of that community. And I took the test and signed up to be a combat medic in the Army for 8 years.
When I lay my went into the Air Force because I wanted to be able to fly, and I had my pilot's license, and so I was interested in being with the Air Force.
When Eloise and I met in San Antonio, we worked at the same hospital, and we came up with this great idea of joining in the Air Force, and we wanted to go in the Air Force Reserves because we wanted to be a flight nurse. And if you went in regular Air Force, you may not ever be able to be a flight nurse.
I was in the destroyer force, mostly in the Mediterranean. I was the Combat Information Center officer on board the ship, the USS Leary. During peacetime, while we were patrolling the Mediterranean and keeping the Russians at bay.
When we were taking care of the injured in the air, we could take care of the ill patients as we were evacuating them into the hospital and things like that.
Eloise went to the Philippines, so she ended up being able to take care of some of the Vietnam vets.
From a very young age, I always wanted to serve my country. I graduated from the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, got lucky enough to get my commission, and my senior year, pretty much not too long after 9/11, I got picked up to go to SEAL training. I reported to SEAL training, definitely lived out my dream and met every expectation of a challenge that I was looking for. We started with 198 and we finished with 18. And from that, we went on and we've come to realize that training is the easiest part of the thing that we do, because combat's going to get much harder from there. Went back, came to the East Coast, and was with East Coast based SEAL teams my entire career. Deployed roughly about 8 times, about 300 combat missions, and it was an incredible experience. Obviously, it was very challenging, but I was lucky to serve with some of the greatest men and the greatest combat unit in the world.
Our strong was just always so blessed to always find the people that I needed to find. We found churches in each location. We've actually lived in 4 locations. The Coast Guard says, "Bloom where you are planted," and I like that line, and it's true. You just have to, you find the positive of everywhere you move, and you find your people, and that will get you through those difficult moments and hardships, and just relying on that faith that it will all be okay.
I like to believe God has been with me since the beginning, and I joined the Coast Guard to serve the public, and I believe it was a call from God. This is where He wanted me to be, and I think my faith have helped me to stay grounded and to find the strength to be away from my family when the time has come. My faith has given me a sense of purpose, and it's given me the strength to just keep pushing through and go through the ups and downs of life of the military.
My faith was very important in the service. When I was in boot camp, we were able to go to church every Sunday, and one of the reasons we all went was because they used to have chocolate chip cookies. But the other reason we went, obviously, was because it was something that we were able to hold on to during times of being physically and mentally under duress all the time.
Faith was a big part of my life. It always has been. It gave me the strength. Every time I was cold, tired, scared, like my faith always grounded me. And every time that I looked for help, I always knew that I can lean on that.
Faith is an important factor in my life, and it was on board the Leary. In fact, I have an incident that I frequently talk about, in that we had a chaplain on board the destroyer for a period of time, and he held an evening service up on the O1 level of the ship. Beautiful, warm evening, and I'm very cognizant of the fact that we sang "Eternal Father, Strong to Save," the Navy hymn, during that service. It has been an indelible memory in my mind since that time.
Eternal Father, strong to save.
So being the radio man, my lieutenant wanted to go on a patrol in Vietnam one day, and being his platoon radio man, I was obligated to go with him. And it's like a 22-man patrol, which is really big for Vietnam. We usually went out with 10 men. But this day the lieutenant wanted to go, so the captain wanted him to have a reinforced platoon. So we were guarding a bridge in Vietnam, and every day, twice a day, we'd have to go out and do a patrol to keep the surrounding area secure. So one day out on patrol, I got tangled up with an improvised explosive device. Like I said, I was the radio man, so they like to take out the radio man to interrupt communications. When I hit the ground, I suffered traumatic amputation of my right leg and my right arm. Luckily, the corpsman was out on patrol with us that day, and he administered first aid, tourniquets, and severe morphine to keep me calm. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It took a little while to muster up a medevac helicopter to come and get me. Ultimately, they put me on the helicopter, and I was off to Da Nang to the field hospital, and to start my new life, I guess, because I was different than what I was before.
I got to know Peter right here in this church about the time I turned 50. When I learned that he had served in Vietnam, I felt embarrassed, since during the exact time that he was fighting a war in Vietnam, I, an undergraduate in 1969, was protesting peacefully every Sunday on the Amherst Common in unjust and immoral war. At 20, I certainly hadn't considered what it meant for Peter at 21, drafted weeks after his college graduation, to not dodge the draft or escape to Canada, but to answer his country's call regardless of his stand on the war. What did I know? For most of our 20 years of marriage, Peter had rarely talked about Vietnam. It would only come up on Veterans Day each year, when our little grandsons would make him a card, and every Thanksgiving when they would get out of school for a day and help their grandpa deliver turkeys to veterans' families in need. Occasionally, they would ask him naively if he had ever killed anyone. He would gently evade answering and redirect them with a story of how he had learned the risks of sleeping with his mouth open in a foxhole. The other time was every December 11th, when he and his 2 pals from Hingham, who had been drafted at the same time, met at Tosca's. It was a ritual that continues today. Neither of them had seen combat, and they never failed to bring it up at their yearly dinners, which bothered Peter, who never minimized their status. In fact, he regularly reminded them that when they were called, they said yes, willing and committed to sacrifice their very lives for their country. Today, as I reflect on that level of commitment to our country, I am humbled. As his wife, I knew that Peter's wounds were mostly invisible and that he had worked hard for years to get to a place that, quote, he was okay at not being okay. He openly joked that he had retired a number of shrinks. The internet was helpful in that it created an opening of head and heart for Peter to reconnect with several of the men from the 101st with whom he had served. And in 2008, his head and heart were opened further when he and 1,500 other Vietnam vets from Massachusetts were invited to what was called a Welcome Home event at Fenway Park. He asked me to join him and carry a large flag. Frankly, I looked forward to a Red Sox-Yankees game, but had no idea how powerful this theme of being welcomed home would be, and why. Peter had never shared that when he landed in Seattle at the end of his year in Vietnam, back in 1970, it was very late at night, and he walked through a ghostly quiet airport, even unnoticed by the cleaning crew. The Welcome Home event was on a gorgeous day in July, when we, alongside 1,500 veterans, paraded out from the tunnel into the bright sunlight at the opening of the famous Green Monster. The crowd rose and cheered and cheered and cheered for what seemed to be 20 minutes. I was surprised at my tears then and now that came out of nowhere. Finally, a proper welcome home after 50 years. A year ago, Peter and I decided to plan a trip to Vietnam. He said that for it to be meaningful, he would want to be able to return to the A Shaw Valley, where he had served. He had literally been dropped into the valley, where he remained for 365 days and then was helicoptered out. So this past January, we left Logan with an adventurous spirit on a 16-hour flight that would take us to Hanoi. There are two experiences, I call them glimmers, that neither of us will ever forget. In Hue, our guide, whose name was Ling, asked us if we would want to meet a professor, a nationally regarded professor, and he was regarded as Vietnam's poet laureate. Ling had occasionally translated his writings for him. His books had been featured internationally, and he knew of Boston because he had lectured at Harvard. He was elderly and poor-sighted, so we agreed to meet him at his home, which is such a bonus. He spoke no English. He welcomed us with tea. We were stunned when he shared that he had been a photojournalist for 9 years for North Vietnam, our enemy then. Through Ling's translation, we learned that he and Peter were no more than 10 kilometers apart from each other for several months in 1969. Peter asked this gentle, sweet man, now a widower, if he would share a photo of him that was taken during the war. The professor took out his album, took a picture, took it out, signed it, and gave it to Peter, who then showed him his only picture taken also as a soldier in Vietnam. The men embraced, and Peter started to cry. The professor, this frail little man, was held in Peter's arms for what seemed to be several minutes as they both sobbed. It was a remarkable communication without words that I got to witness. The other glimmer was taking a 2-hour ride on an all-terrain vehicle into the A Shaw Valley, its triple canopy jungle. Now, I had heard that term, but now it became real. A dense jungle where I couldn't even imagine living. I couldn't imagine sleeping. I couldn't imagine hiding from the enemy. It was exactly as Peter had remembered it from 50 years before. It couldn't have changed because of the terrain. And yes, we were often interrupted by herds of cows who still had the right of way. The mist and the cloud cover created an ethereal feeling against the lush, green, dense jungle that surrounded our car. I remember holding Peter's hand in the back seat as we journeyed for a couple of hours, going deeper and deeper. It felt ominous and momentous at the same time. We finally arrived at a clearing. We got out of the car, we took some pictures, and then silently, hand in hand, we walked up Hamburger Hill. To me, standing in this place where my husband had served and sacrificed, watched his peers die, and yes, had felt scared most of the time for a year, was quite humbling. I realized only then that when called, either from the draft or today, for men and women who are called to serve, their commitment to our country, to willingly sacrifice, not for your children or for your loved ones, for love of country, was, well, frankly amazing. We were standing in a place that was part of history. I don't think I was ever more proud of my husband. I'd like to close with a quote credited to Ben Franklin. "Tell me, and I forget. Teach me, and I remember. Involve me, and I understand. I got the gift of witnessing Peter's journey. And now in sharing it with you, I hope you can make new meaning of the theme, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
It's hard to speak after that. As we are painfully aware, many of our brave men and women in uniform did not make it home alive. More than 1.1 million Americans have perished in our nation's wars, including the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812, the Indian Wars, the Mexican War, the Civil War, the Spanish-American War, the First and Second World Wars, Korea, Vietnam, the Persian Gulf, Afghanistan, and Iraq. President Lincoln, in his Gettysburg Address, resolved that the dead should not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and the government of the people, by the people, and for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Amen. Amen. The beautiful music you are about to hear is from Requiem by Mark Hayes. It is called Agnus Dei, which translates to Lamb of God, and is an entreaty to the Lamb of God on behalf of all those who have passed from this world to the next, that they may receive mercy, rest, and everlasting peace. We dedicate this performance to those 1.1 million Americans who laid down their lives for this country that they so passionately loved.
I still find myself very emotional when I hear taps, whether it's Memorial Day or at a parade or in the service, the beauty of the trumpet in the distance and what that stands for, and the patriotism that I still have. And whenever I see an American flag and people who are supporting the American flag and the democracy and what it stands for and what it has always stood for, is something that I take so much pride in, and I am always so happy to see children and younger adults being brought up, you know, respecting the flag and respecting what the United States has always stood for, which is, you know, freedom and helping others stay free, and you know, I love to see true patriots in the United States still.
Well, I think we're all, you know, grateful to be Americans. When you're in other countries, and as I say, I've gone to El Salvador with Eloise, not in the service, but when you see how other people in other countries live, we're very grateful.
So in my business, where I am, helping people with neurological diseases specific to Parkinson's disease, we utilize a lot of our leadership skills and military discipline in order to be successful. We go into our battles every day with, our weapons and our resilience and our mental, our mental fitness, and it makes us very successful. So I still live, 26 years later, my life at home and in my business, very structured and very much like the way that I left the service.
The reason I've started Disabled Enlisted Veterans with a fellow Marine, Mike, was because we saw the need for veterans. I lost my first wife, and I found myself at the bar too much and like going nowhere, and there's got to be something better than this. And I founded this organization. I've done some remarkable things, I believe. Touched some people that never would have been counseled or gone into the VA system. It was we helped at the Veterans Treatment Court in Dedham, where the judge, if you got banged up with the law, you were a veteran, she'd put you in the treatment court for 6 months and then expunge your record, so you walked away without it on your record. We put those guys in suits because the judge demanded that they be in suits. You give somebody a suit, you hope they're going to take it to a job interview and get a job, and in the interim, we'd take them to medical appointments or to the court every once a month. It just had some great results. One of the people we've counseled turned around and became a mentor at the Veterans Treatment Court, which is the greatest compliment in the world. He went through the whole program and then decided, I want to go be a mentor. And he actually had a gun to his head, was going to commit suicide. And he talked to my friend Mike a couple of times, and just talking to him, showing him what we do, he got involved. He entered the Veterans Treatment Court, completed that successfully, and turned around and became a mentor. It's the best thing in the world, success.
Once again, it was unrealistic that we were going to hold our applause until the end. Oh, our hearts are full of gratitude for our veterans and full of gratitude for the values of democracy that they so bravely sacrificed to protect. As you can imagine, it's quite an effort to coordinate and execute an event and experience such as this. Thank you to all of our musicians, our choirs, who are incredible. This was such an act of love. Thank you to our music ministry team and Robbie Boston, who's here. Of course, she's working in the kitchen. Thank you, Robbie, for your leadership. Barbara Northrup, who chaired the Veterans Ministry team, who was at the helm as all of these plans came together. Barbara, thank you for your commitment of time and your heart that you have given to this event. Thank you to Wendy Balabi for our beautiful programs and flyers and postcards, to Dan Miout, who created this poignant and moving video, John Galvin, the man behind the sound and the video projection desk. Thank you, John, and Mark Newby as well. And the many who have worked behind the scenes, hanging flags, providing refreshments, setting up chairs. We do invite you to join us following the concert for refreshments. There is a free will offering also being taken. The money collected will go directly to these two organizations that are listed in your program for disabled and limbless veterans and Folds of Honor. You can read more about those organizations here. There's also an insert in your program where you're able to provide your contact information, and you will be included in our music mailing list so that you'll know about future events and programs here at UCC. And in closing, I'd like to invite Peter Cook forward, who has a special expression of gratitude for Karen Harvey.
First of all, out there and to listen to you. It hasn't happened often, but when it does, wow. Thank you again. Where is Karen? Hi. Karen, on behalf of all the veterans here and many that you've touched, I want to present you with a challenge. And a challenge coin can be traced back to the Roman Empire and today continues to be a physical symbol given by one military person to another to show respect, camaraderie, honor. Under special circumstances, this being one, may be given to a non-military person. I would like to offer you this challenge coin because you exemplify patriotism. Patriotism is not limited to those who serve in uniform. It's about pride, respect, and the willingness to connect and support each other. So if you come up here.
Now I'm weeping. Thank you, Peter. That means the world to me. The words "To America the Beautiful" were written by Catherine Lee Bates, an English professor at Wellesley College, after a cross-country train journey to teach English at Colorado College in 1893. Bates wrote, "One day, some of the other teachers and I decided to go on a trip to 14,000-foot Pikes Peak. We hired a prairie wagon. Near the top, we had to leave the wagon and go the rest of the way on mules. I was very tired. But when I saw the view, I felt great joy. All the wonder of America seemed displayed there, with its sea-like expanse. On the pinnacle of that mountain, the words started to come to her. Her poem, entitled America, was published 2 years later to commemorate the 4th of July. Though many people rushed to set the poem to music, the gorgeous tune that is now used was originally written as a hymn by church organist and choir director Samuel A. Ward at Grace Episcopal Church in Newark, New Jersey. And let's hear it for organists and choir directors. That was a good one. Ward had originally written the tune for the hymn, O Mother Dear, Jerusalem, retitling the work Materna. Bates's poem and Ward's music were first published together in 1910, entitled America the Beautiful. And interestingly, they never met in real life. They never met. On a personal note, I have always been extremely moved when hearing these inspired verses set to such majestic music, and believe they embody both a prayer for and the promise of the best of what America can be. And one more historical note. On November 11, 1918, a battalion of the 26th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army, colloquially known as the Yankee Division, spontaneously sang America the Beautiful upon hearing the announcement of the armistice.
And the more you travel to some of these other countries, not everybody is free. Not everybody is safe. Not everybody gets to go to church or worship who they want. Not everybody is allowed to go to schools and get jobs. And there's a lot of challenges there. And there's a lot of poverty there. And we are very lucky. We have our challenges, but we are very lucky on where we're from in the United States. And America is the vision. And it continues to be the guiding light. It becomes to be the lighthouse for the rest of the world.
It's so, I mean, I love this country. There's no other country like it. I've traveled around the world. There is no place like America.
Strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life.